you how to get a document ready so that you can cut it on the laser engraver rather than engrave it. It's going to take some different steps than we did for just simply the engraving. So let me show you. We are working on a t-shirt screen, and we're making a stencil for it. So the screen size that we have is 255 by 360 millimeters. So I will type that in, and then I'm going to create a new design. And here is the size of the entire screen that I can work with. Now, just like engraving on the laser cutter, you want to be looking in your elements, and you want to be finding images that are black and white or that can be changed to black and white. So if I go and I look for some birds right here, I can just click those and I'll put those right there. And then let's say I wanted this to have a sort of nature theme. I can go in and look, and any of these black and white ones are going to work really well. The color ones, if you were desperate to use a color one, you would have to go in and you would have to change these colors to black and white, which could get a little bit confusing, I would think. Yeah, you would have to kind of, oops, the orange would become white. The green would become white. And then this other dark green would probably become black. So I could do something like that, but in this case, I'm just sticking to what is already black and white. This doesn't look fabulous together because these are like really fine lines, thin lines, hatching and cross hatching technique in here. And these are very solid. It looks kind of strange, but this might end up, actually, no, I don't like the birds. So I like the bottom right here. I don't like the birds. If I maybe found something that was maybe like a little bit more delicate. And these are definitely, I would say proportionally, those are going to look a lot better. So say that this was my t-shirt design. This is my ultimate design. I love it. I'm going to go with it. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to share, download, and this time I'm going to save it as an SVG. Very important that it is an SVG file because we're going to have to send this through Adobe Illustrator to make it to get it so that it will cut rather than engrave. If I saved this right now as an Adobe PDF, it would engrave, but we want it to cut. So I'm going to download. When you guys go to one of the two PCs in the classroom, they have Adobe Illustrator. So you're going to look up Adobe Illustrator on them, and I am going to open my SVG file. It might say that it could not be imported properly. That's okay. Don't worry about it because I know that it will. And now I have to set this up so that I kind of teach the laser engraver that I want to cut this rather than print it. So I can go through and start selecting each individual bird, which would drive me crazy. I could also take this one right here. It looks like there's something over top of this. I'm going to just delete that. Now, here we go. I can just take this and make like a square over top, and this is going to select everything inside. Now, I'm going to change the filling so that there is no longer anything inside. It's going to be just blank inside. So you want to make sure that the first one you're putting on no fill. The second one is the stroke. We want to change that we'll do this first. We want to change the stroke, and it must be these numbers, 0.01. And I'm going to hit enter. And then it did automatically make that black. It made it a nice uniform line. And when I look at this now, it's going to look really different. It's going to have these thin, almost invisible lines. This is exactly what we want, the thin, almost invisible lines. And these will be the parts that end up getting cut out. Now, you can see that with the hatching and cross hatching here, it is going to need to do a ton of cutting. If you have something with this amount of detail, you might be there for quite a while as the laser goes through and cuts each of these individual areas out. So if I were to go backwards and I wanted something that would cut faster or easier, I would probably be going back to Canva, and perhaps I would be going with a set of mountains that look like these. But eventually, when this does all get cut out and you put the ink on it, it should look something like this when you're done. And if, again, you wanted it to be a really simple, fast cutout, you're going to do something with simple lines that are all kind of joined together already. When you were done in Illustrator and it looks like this right here, so that everything's thin and nothing is filled in, then you're going to save it as an Adobe PDF. Now, you said before, like, we use Adobe PDFs in Canva. Why is it that we have to save it as a PDF here? Well, what we had to do here was program the 0.01. That tells the laser cutter that you're going to cut that line. It knows that any line that is 0.01 needs to be cut. It still needs to be a PDF so that the laser printer can read the entire file. The laser printer can only read a PDF file. And maybe I'll call it something like mountain shirt. I'll usually put my name. Please save your document without calling it untitled. Give it a real name and your name. And that's because when people are printing on the laser cutter, it's way easier if it has a name than untitled. And you're going to save that. Save the PDF. If you have done this design from your Chromebook, which you probably have, you're going to need to get the USB key again. And you've used the USB key before. You're going to transfer your information, and then you're going to go and print on the laser cutter as you did before. But I will show you something a little bit different with that. You're going to select vector on the cutout menu rather than raster. And that will be the only real difference. And we will program it for paper rather than wood or cork. When you load it up onto the computer beside the laser engraver, you're going to open Adobe Illustrator again, and you're going to open this file on Adobe Illustrator, and then you're going to go to print, and you will just simply print it out. You will have the laser cutter set up just as you did before, and then it should print everything out for you and cut it out from the thick paper or the cardboard or whatever it is you use for a stencil, and you'll be good.